Welcome, everyone. This is Russ Scalzo, Chronicles of the End Times. I hope you're doing well today and getting ready for the kingdom to come. We're going to be talking about that today. What will the new kingdom be like? We've talked about all the evil. We've talked about all the wars and all the things that the book of Revelation predicts. But how about the good stuff? So what's coming after this great battle and after the judgment of the nations when Jesus Christ comes to rule and reign on the earth for 1,000 years? What will you and I be doing? What will we look like? Who will we be hanging with and talking to? Christians who love Jesus have an amazing future ahead of them, and we need to look at it. So let's take a look into the future and see what God has for us. Now, as we do that, there are people in this world, very, very smart people, who are looking into the future of this world. And to me, it's just another sign that is rarely talked about. But this move of AI coming into our lives, this is just the beginning of what those in the science community have in store. You may have heard of the great inventor and futurist, Ray Kurzweil. He's one of the best known and really controversial advocates for the role of machines in the future of humanity. He predicts some amazing things in his book, Singularity is Near, in 2005. But he came up with a new book, Singularity is Nearer, which he does a lot of interviews on. You can look him up on YouTube. Extremely interesting human being. But he's been right about many things, and he predicts that the future is bright because of technology. We're going to compare with what God has planned and has in store for us and what the human race and science has planned for us without God. Take a listen to this clip that I took from PBD's podcast, Patrick Bet-David. Great podcast. You ought to check him out. Very informative, very entertaining, where he reads this list of what AI has in store for you and me. Check it out.
But dead will come back to life. He believes that AI will enable the resurrection of the dead, starting with simulations and progressing to physical forms. He has already created a digital replicant of his father using his father's writing and compositions. By the end of the 2020s, highly realistic, non-biological recreations of people will be possible. Eventually, these replicants may inhabit cybernetically augmented biological body grown from a DNA of the original person. He predicts that humans will transition into artificial bodies that surpass biological limitations by the 2040s. 2, humans will become 1 million times more clever. Immortality begins in 2030. He predicts humans will achieve escape velocity for immortality by 2030. Advanced AI will lead to rapid clinical trials with new longevity treatments. 4, life will become cheaper and easier. Technology will drastically reduce the cost of living luxuriously by 2030. Robots and 3D printers will accelerate construction process. Interesting. Living standard will improve as these advancements make luxurious lifestyles more affordable. 5, entertainment, where we feel every thought. Human brains will be upgraded with nanotechnology, enabling immersive entertainment experiences. Harmless nanoscale electrodes will be inserted into the brain, enhancing mental processing. Freed from the physical constraints of the skull, minds will process information of substrates 1 million times faster than biological tissue, expanding intelligence exponentially.
That is a mouthful, to say the least. So the question is, how long do you think God is going to let this go on? It's something that's rarely talked about in relation to end times. We've talked about a lot of other things. And I have referenced that AI will be the image of the beast. It seems perfectly seamless that that's going to take place. But what about all of this? How far do you think God's going to let us go with this technology? Being that he has a plan for us that's so much better than that. I don't want to have things put in my brain and parts in my body that are going to let me live forever, or transfer my consciousness to some mechanical being. All sounds very sci-fi, doesn't it? But it's right there in our face, and it is growing exponentially. Now let's shift to what God has in store for us. It's so much nicer. Jesus is truly amazing. He always fleshes out everything. He models it for us, so we don't have to guess. He shows us how to minister to people. He shows us how to act. He shows us how to be humble, yet powerful. He fleshes out everything, models everything. And so he does it here when he talks about glorified bodies. He just doesn't tell us about it and give us the hope of it, but he shows us exactly what that is going to be. So let's pick it up in Luke chapter 24. Some amazing stories were written down about this. We pick it up where Jesus has risen from the dead. He's already appeared to the women at the tomb, and now he appears to several men walking along the street to Emmaus. Now that same day, 2 of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking with each other about everything that had happened. As they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" They stood still, their faces downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, "Are you only a visitor to Jerusalem? Do you not know the things that have happened here in these days?" "What things?" he asked. "About Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "He was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hope that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And what is more, it is the 3rd day since all this took place. In addition, some of our own women amazed us. They went to the tomb early this morning, but didn't find the body. They came and told us they had seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it just like the women said." He said to them, "How foolish you are, and how slow to heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Did not the Christ have to suffer these things, then enter into his glory?" So here he is walking along the road, having a conversation. Obviously he just appeared, they weren't aware of it. But when they got to a place to have something to eat, this happened. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were open, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. So what do we take from this? Jesus is in bodily form, but we know that he's shed his blood. So his body has no blood in it, but yet it is flesh and bones. We're going to look into that a little bit. But these flesh and bones that he inhabits can appear and disappear. Pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. How about you? So let's take it to the next scene where these 2 men came back to the disciples and they were talking about what happened. While they were still talking about this, Jesus himself stood among them and said to them, "Peace be with you." They were startled and frightened, thinking they saw a ghost. He said to them, "Why are you troubled, and why do doubts rise in your minds? Look at my hands and my feet. It is I myself. Touch me and see. A ghost does not have flesh and bones, as you see I have." So then he further describes what his body looks like. He doesn't reference blood because he doesn't have any blood. This is a new body. This is a new creation. This is the house that Jesus referred to. Paul referenced it when he said, I'm just living in a tent. This flesh is just a tent, and I'm living inside of it. My spirit is living inside of it. But someday we're going to have a different tent, a permanent, everlasting tent, a new body. So then he wants to demonstrate this body further. It's just so cool. He doesn't miss a trick. When he had said this, he showed them his hands and his feet. And while they still did not believe it because of the joy and amazement, he asked them, "Do you have anything here to eat?" They gave him a piece of broiled fish, and he took it and ate it in their presence. I mean, you can't beat this. He leaves no stone unturned. So Jesus is still not done. Let's go to John chapter 21. Now, this is after Jesus appeared to them, so they all decide to go fishing. So they go fishing, they're out there all night, they catch nothing. So now the sun's coming up, it's early in the morning, they're heading in. Let's pick it up from there. Verse 4. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not recognize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some. When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." So here he is on the beach, waving to them, talking to them. This is the glorified Christ. This is the glorified Jesus Christ, sitting at the right hand of the Father, returned to his glory that he had before he became the Son of Man. So Jesus hollers to him, "Bring some of the fish you have just caught." So Peter's got his guys, and John, they have helpers there. They're bringing in the fish, and they're running to Jesus at this point. Jesus says to them, "Come, have breakfast." None of the disciples dare ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This is now the third time Jesus appeared to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. So here is the glorified Son of God sitting on the beach, cooking fish and making breakfast for his brothers. That is one of my favorite scriptures in the entire Bible because it shows exactly the heart of Jesus Christ. He became the Son of Man so he could relate to us, and he loved his friends. He wanted to hang with them. He knew his time was short and he would be going to the Father, but he wanted to have quality time with his guys. He made them breakfast and served them. That to me says all you and I need to know about how much Jesus Christ loves us and what he has in store for us. Let's check out 1 John chapter 3, verse 2. John writes, "Beloved, we are now the children of God, and it does not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is." We shall be like him. Paul writes in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, beginning with verse 50, he says, "I declare to you, brothers, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, nor does the perishable inherit the imperishable. Listen, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but we will be changed in a flash, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trump." Now we know that he's talking about the rapture, or the catching away of the church. What I want us to concentrate on here is about the perishable and the imperishable. So our bodies will be changed in an instant, in a twinkling of an eye. Verse 49 of that same chapter reads, "And just as we have borne the likeness of the earthly man, so shall we bear the likeness of the man from heaven." We have a great future. There's much to be said about this. So on our next podcast, we will take it to the next level. We will actually talk about the millennial reign, reigning with Jesus Christ in our glorified bodies. What will our tasks be? What will it be like? Very exciting stuff. Thank you for listening today. And if you haven't had opportunity to read the Hidden Throne series on Amazon, please check it out. I believe it will bless you. It will give you a look into the spiritual warfare that we are facing right today. This is Russ Galzo for Chronicles of the End Times. God bless. Keep looking up. The King is coming.